I have a question, okay? What constitutes a classic anime to you? Now, I don't really know. I just thought maybe opening the video with a question might be something interesting. I don't know. Classics are not something that I've really concerned myself too much with. Instead of watching the anime that everybody on Earth agrees is the best, I'd rather watch Reborn as a Vending Machine, I Now Wander the Dungeon. But I'm sure you guys realize neither of these anime are going to be something that we're talking about today. Instead, this video is about Haruhi Suzumiya. I've been in like the broader anime community for like a decade now, and somehow I've avoided all spoilers for this anime. Before actually watching this thing, I knew that it was about aliens and that it had to do with school life. I kind of assumed that it would be like a slice of life, maybe a romance. Either way, the anime opens with our main character Kyon going through his normal school morning, but the visuals have this sort of grain over it. That is until we meet the poster girl of this anime, Haruhi Suzumiya, and his life fills with color. Something pretty cliche, but also it will hold evidence for something we talk about later. The more we learn about Haruhi though, the more interesting and I guess weird she gets. She does her hair differently depending on what day of the week it is. She joins every school club just to excel at it and then quit the same day. But after Kyon becomes the only successful person to actually hold a conversation with this girl, he's told that Haruhi is in search of excitement. Her whole life is just a search for something out of the ordinary. Aliens, time travelers, and espers. These are the things that she brings up as like her white whale. But with this newfound friendship or acquaintanceship, they decide to create something called the SOS Brigade. And it is a club to search for these oddities of the world. But first, they need members. They absorb Nagato, who was in the room before and wanted to be in a literary club, and she kind of just joined because they said that she could still read if she wanted to join their club. Haruhi says that their club needs moe, so she recruits Asahina, and honestly, I don't know how I feel about this particular one, but 2006, let's just say 2006 moe has a little bit of some cringe in it, some cringe. Being cute back then is just like, how much can other characters sexually abuse this person? We're moving on though. And the last person to join their club is Itsuki. He's so handsome, oh my god. And there's definitely something going on between these two. If you know, you know. Now that everybody is accounted for in this group, we can kind of get a grasp of how things actually are for this normal friend group.
Hostile interface name Ryoko Asakura. Terminating data links to organic life form. Hi, Kyon. It's been ages.
And surprise, the club has everything Haruhi could have ever wanted. But she also doesn't know about it, so shh, don't tell her, don't tell on them. But also another surprise that isn't said in the anime, but what this video is about, I think it's actually a normal friend group. I think it is. We'll talk about it as this goes on, but I think it is actually just a normal friend group. Early on in the anime here, we're kind of feeling out the characters and the world that we live in. So a lot of it kind of boils down to like hanging out, sometimes meaning investigating certain things, sometimes meaning casual sexual harassment, just a true blue 2006 anime, going for what it knows that the fans love. But then when Haruhi isn't looking, hurry, something weird happened. It's always this formula of Haruhi isn't around, something weird is gonna happen. But that brings me into episode 6, which is my favorite episode. We're gonna talk about this pretty in depth. Jump into it. After Kyon sees at least one example of everybody in the club doing their specialty thing, he starts the episode by asking himself, why me? Why am I, a normal guy, in the same group with all these fantastical people? What am I doing in the center of it all? And then he's interrupted by a friend from a different friend group, walked in on him the day before, where he caught Nagato in the room after an epic battle. So he's kind of talking about that situation, and they're both kind of like throwing it back and forth. He's kind of lying about the situation, and he kind of gaslights him by saying,
Tamaguchi's memory of the events was a complete fiction, a fantasy, merely a dream.
A little later, Asahina finds her little folder where they criminally hold pictures of her. I'm just saying. And then they change into different outfits almost for no reason.
Well, now my arms and shoulders are cool, but the rest of this crummy outfit doesn't breathe at all.
And they end the day kind of acknowledging how simple of a day it was. They're playing Othego, I think that's how you say it. And it turned out to just be a normal day. After a run-in with his little sister, it's off to bed. He wakes up and he's already back at school. Haruhi is yelling at him.
Wake up!
What is going on? They seem to be stuck here, and the school is super abandoned. This is pretty familiar to Kyon. He's already experienced this thing called closed space with Itsuki before. Kind of forgot to mention, Haruhi is explained by all the other members of the group to be a god figure, and everything that the world has created is due to her desire for it to exist. And anytime she has like an emotional outburst, she creates these places called closed spaces. Basically like an otherworldly dimension of the same area that they're in, and there's these big monsters that crash things down. That's basically how it works. This is what we are experiencing now. But usually Haruhi isn't there for the destruction. She is completely oblivious to the power that she holds. Another oddity is there's no destruction yet. It's kind of just them in their classroom exploring and trying to figure out what's going on. But them being in this limbo world is bad. Itsuki even makes his way into the world just in like a half form to let them know that they need to get out. And this could spell even worse things for the regular world that they need to go back to.
In other words, this is the end of the world.
Turns out that this is actually a completely new dimension that Haruhi created exclusively to be alone with Kyon. And once they learn this, boom, the monsters are there. And very tellingly, Haruhi is not worried at all. She is more impressed by their presence than anything else. While they're running out of the school, Kyon has to remind her what they're missing. Remind her that there are friends to go back to. He ends up lamenting about how he misses his friends and how his life was so normal and mundane, but misses it so much already. He's been taking everything for granted, and now he just realizes how much he misses the SOS Brigade and how much he wants to get back to them. This discovery is ultimately just for himself though, because Haruhi is just confused on why he doesn't want to stay there with her. Again, this sort of triggers the same sort of question that he had at the start of the episode. Why me? Why was he chosen to be in this world alone with Haruhi? What does Haruhi mean to me? Haruhi is Haruhi. Struggling to figure out what to even do and how to categorize his feelings, he pops this.
I've sort of got a thing for girls with ponytails.
What?
I don't remember when it was, but you had your hair in a ponytail, and it looked so good on you it was criminal.
Huh? What, are you an idiot?
Kyon wakes back up into the old world. Could it all have just been a dream? Question mark. Or maybe this is a brand new world created separately from both of the worlds that they just experienced. How would they even be able to tell whether or not that world even existed in the first place? Oh. Okay. There is a lot to talk about as far as this episode goes. First of all, I just want to say I love the fiction of someone's desires creating realities. It's a very good show don't tell thing, especially in anime that's sometimes known for being very heavily dialogue explained. I love it so much. It's something done kind of classically by Neon Genesis, and they utilized it to amazing effect, and I think it was pretty good in this anime as well. I'm sure I don't even have to explain to you why Kyon's question of why he belongs with all these fantastical people is answered without even having to say anything. He was the one chosen to be in this one-on-one world. He is loved by Haruhi and everybody else in the SOS Brigade. I would agree as friends, and that's why I think the little kissing moment, well, I don't know, was a little bit out of left field for me, but I would mark it up to just emotional excitement of this realization of their friendship. That might be a stretch, but that's just how I feel. I also would say that more evidence towards my side is that nothing else like this happens again in the anime. There is no romantic story arc with any of these characters. I definitely think that it's just for friendship thing. Alright, let's talk about my theory with this anime though. I don't know if this is like a common theory. This anime's been out forever and I would be surprised if nobody else has thought about this, but I think that everything happened in this dream. It was just a dream. He fell asleep and then all these divine happenings happened while while he was asleep. I think that everybody's fantastical representation of themselves just comes from an exaggeration of their character. Haruhi is the type that gets what she wants, so she is a god that created the world based off of her desires. Itsuki is empathetic, so he is the one that deals with people's raw emotions in the most battle anime way possible. Asahina took me a while to sort of figure out why she's a time traveler, and I think it's literally because she has big boobs. I think that's the joke, that she has big boobs, so she must be from a later time period. And Nagato is not an alien from another planet. She is just autistic. As the anime goes on, it strengthens my argument so much. They go to an island where this murder happens, and it turns out to just be a game set up by Itsuki for his friends to unravel a mystery. I feel like he would have never learned about this being a setup if someone didn't threaten the dead guy with a knife themselves. So boom, it's fake, it's imagined, whatever you want to call it. Next is The Endless Summer. From episode 12 to episode 19, the cast live through the same summer over and over again. It even repeats all the same lines, coming to the same conclusion and failing the same way every time. Yeah, 7 episodes of that with very, very minimal changes. Yikes. Either way, this just didn't happen. They just lived through their summer one time. Itsuki went to bed right before the last day and dreamt those dreams that feel like an eternity. Every single one of these things either starts or ends with the characters falling asleep, and that is not a coincidence. They even sort of rub it in your face at the end of this arc.
The thought of us reliving the past 2 weeks tens of thousands of times seems like a bad dream.
I'm not at all surprised you feel that way.
And I just want to say, if this happened today, like 7 episodes of literally the exact same thing happening over and over again, people would bomb those scores. It would not survive. And lastly, the making of their little student film. A lot of the extraordinary things in this part happen through Haruhi's want for their movie to be more exciting. For one, she wants lasers to come out of her eyes, and I would say that this is something that's kind of close to sort of breaking my theory, because the character ends up getting like burn marks on her skin, but it literally blows away. I think she just had like schmutz on her hand and it just blew away. I don't think that there was any actual lasers. At the end of this arc, they sort of go through a rapid fire of a bunch of otherworldly things, and I'm just gonna play that clip now so you can kind of get context for what I'm gonna talk about.
At some point during the day, the toy guns started firing water bullets instead of BBs. Haruhi brought different colored contacts for Miss Asahina, which made her shoot even more dangerous things at me. And each time she did, Nagato bit her. A couple of days after the cherry trees started to blossom, the petals fell off. The white pigeons at the shrine had turned into passenger pigeons, which have been extinct for a while now. And even the seasons seem to be completely out of whack.
But even Itsuki at the end of it just writes it off as imagination, to tell Haruhi that that was all a figment of her imagination. And none of these extra bits of insanity ended up actually making its way into the movie. The movie played out extremely normal, like any student film that you might see at your high school or middle school or wherever you're schooling. And we watched the film from front to back, so it's not like I'm missing anything there. There are some other examples of this, like Kyon conveniently catching some Z's in the auditorium right before Haruhi's band gets up to play, kind of implying that that couldn't have even happened. But considering that very well could have happened in this world, I don't think I'm gonna count this one. Alright, let's move on to the last talking point, the movie. So off rip, without any of the implications, I just want to say this movie is great. I really liked it. I think it really blew the whole series out of the water for me. But it opens pretty normally. It's the Christmas season, so it opens with a little bit of Christmas banter and Itsuki kind of walking around the school. Not Itsuki, Kyon. I meant Kyon. In Japan, Christmas is kind of a different situation than it is over here. It's not so much a family gathering as much as it is more of like a romantic thing. So even the girl chaser that Kyon has been friends with this whole time, kind of on the back burner, tells Kyon that he's got a date, you know? He's finally got his big date going on. Haruhi is at her antics like usual, all gung-ho about the holiday seasons, spray painting Xmas over their window, and she tells Kyon, on your way home, could you pick up some party things for the Christmas season? And Kyon, goes, gets his stuff, goes home, and goes to bed. When he gets up in the morning, he's going to school, and he meets up with his lady crazy friend. He's looking sick. He's not looking too hot, okay? And he says something kind of weird.
Must have hit you fast. You were all fired up yesterday.
Huh? I felt like crap yesterday too. Don't you remember?
Kyon kind of shrugs this off and says that basically he probably got dumped and feels bad about it, doesn't really want to talk about it, and that's understandable. When he gets to class, it looks like that cold took out a lot of people. I would say like 20% of his class was not even at school. It looks like Haruhi also caught this cold because the seat right behind him is vacant. After he meets up with one of his other background friends, he's told that this sickness has been going around for weeks. But that's not right. He doesn't remember anybody being sick the day before. Something is definitely off. His friend keeps talking. Tamaguchi has been sick all week, he says. Don't you remember him being sick and sitting out of gym class yesterday? He ends up realizing that this is not the reality he was in the day before. The world has completely changed, and it's not like these normal changes where the world is in jeopardy for everybody. The world for himself was in jeopardy. The world that he and only he knew was gone. I'm not going to talk too much more about this movie, but it is fantastic. I would recommend the whole series just so you can watch the movie. It's actually so good. It does this weird, like, uncanny, everyday horror so flippin' well. If I woke up and everything was slightly different and none of my friends knew who I was, that would be a nightmare. Nightmare. You guys get it? Either way, if it's not obvious, this whole thing kind of falls into a dream sequence, in my opinion. I would not qualify this as a real thing that happened. Despite how great this movie is, it didn't actually happen. At least most of it. Thank you guys for watching. This is late, obviously. It was supposed to be for August. I'm trying to start this thing called Classics Month, which is supposed to be August, and I'm still gonna have it for August next year. But yeah, I was a little late. There's a lot of excuses. I was gonna put them at the start of the video, but now we're at the end, so I would just want to say them for my own sake. My Wi-Fi went out for 2 weeks, so I had to get this on DVD, and I ended up watching it dubbed because of that. I couldn't change the subtitles. The dub's terrible in this anime. I think Kyon is okay. I think Haruhi is okay. Asahina, atrocious. Nagato, terrible. Yeah, that's about it. And then I got really sick. I'm still pretty sick in this video. I don't know if you could tell from my voice, but yeah, I'm still pretty sick. I'm not awesome. I'm filming September 2nd right now. I don't know when this video will be out to the public, but yes. And so this is sort of supposed to be a classic series. I've been asking people what are the 20 most classic anime, and then I'm picking from that list. I want to do it randomly, but this time I actually had to choose it because of the limitations that I had. Long story short, it wasn't a random choice. I chose to watch Haruhi. My call to action to you guys, watch one other of my videos, just one. Okay, bye.